The Miami Dolphins are doubling down on being the same old Dolphins.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
There's a team that's in our hearts. We've got love that won't depart. We are always in the stands, 'cause we're super Dolphin fans. Football is mighty rough. Winning gets awful tough. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins.
Hello, Miami Dolphin fan, and welcome to the perhaps ever more aptly named than ever Same Old Dolphins Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people. Now say hello to the people while not being on mute.
Hello to the people.
There we go. Fantastic. Brain, there's so much to say. I've got so much built up inside about what we learned today. And basically, just to recap, because if you're a Miami Dolphins fan and you're watching the show and you don't know, I mean, I guess I'm going to break some news to you. But Mike McDaniel held a press conference today after we heard across the league about Kevin Stefanski getting fired, and the coach in Arizona is getting fired, and Pete Carroll's getting fired, and Raheem Morris is getting fired, and all of these coaches are getting fired, and we're hearing crickets out of Miami. But then we start getting leaks about, well, they're going to talk to this GM candidate and that GM candidate. And you're seeing this list of GM candidates and you're going, okay, this is pretty good candidates until you look at the list as a whole. And let me just read the names to you real quick here for you. Tariq Ahmad, Vice President, Player Personnel, San Francisco 49ers. RJ Gillen, Assistant General Manager, San Francisco 49ers. Josh Williams, Director of Scouting and Football Operations, San Francisco 49ers. You also have John Eric Sullivan, Vice President of Player Personnel for the Green Bay Packers. Eric Hallaby, Assistant General Manager for the Philadelphia Eagles. And John McKay, Assistant General Manager for the Los Angeles Rams. And, oh, by the way, you also have Dolphins Interim General Manager Champ Kelly, the 7 names being listed. But of the 6 current external candidates, three of them are members of the staff of the San Francisco 49ers and worked for the San Francisco 49ers when one, Mike McDaniel, was also part of the San Francisco 49ers. So you got all that information and you started to think, oh, they're keeping him intact. Not only are they keeping Mike McDaniel, but they are it feels like almost catering the GM search to try to find people that are going to be happy with Mike McDaniel. Then you get the Mike McDaniel press conference later in the day, and Mike McDaniel himself says he is planning to be part of the general manager interview process for the Miami Dolphins. This clown shoes organization is once again doing a half measure. They did the right thing by getting rid of Chris Grier earlier this season. The next correct thing to do would be to get rid of the head coach, this failed head coach who oversaw a football team this season that was outscored by 103 points in third quarters of games this season. A team that didn't score a point in the third quarter of a football game after Halloween in 2025. The right move is move on from that head coach. But instead of so doing, at least at this point in time, we are hearing from the man himself that he is planning to be involved with the general manager interview process for the Miami Dolphins. And not only that, but he's going to be the head coach of this team until somebody tells him that he's not going to be. And so, Brian, I was enraged this afternoon. I don't know if you can tell, I'm still pretty annoyed right now. And I can tell from the super chats that are already coming in, and send them in if you want to. I can tell from the comments that we've gotten from our pulse checks on Instagram and on Blue Sky and on Twitter. We're getting them in all the channels. People are not happy with this organization. So what I wanted to do today was, because, Brain, we are going to have plenty of time to vent and rage about this over the course of the off season. But what I wanted to do tonight was to give some other members of our community the opportunity to have their voices heard. So tonight, it's not just going to be me and you, but we're going to open the lines up and let some of our members at Dolphins Talk Extra call into the show if they want to voice their opinions. We're also going to have a couple of special guests join us on the show today, Brain, including the first, who is waiting right now in the green room, waiting to be brought on the air very patiently, trying to keep his new dog very quiet in the background while we talk here. Before I bring him on, I'm going to remind everybody to make sure you're following us at Amplified to Rock, at Aaron the Brain. That's at Aaron the Brain. The show is at Same Old Dolphins. Download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphins Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere you get your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Smash that like button right now. Shout out to everybody watching us live on the Dolphins Talk YouTube button for us right now. We appreciate you all very much. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you're visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. It's your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. We're going to have you covered there as the general manager search continues. And for as long as we've got this head coach, we're going to have you covered with any news that is breaking all throughout the off season here. Yeah, I know. Oh, I'll also mention Dolphins Talk Extra. If you're not a member of Dolphins Talk Extra, you can be a member starting at only $3 a month at patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. You get bonus podcasts, bonus shows. You can enter our contest. We've got a contest going on right now for the NFL Playoff Bracket Challenge. So if you're a member of Dolphins Talk Extra, you get free entry into the contest, and the winner of the contest is getting an item of their choosing from caneswear.com, our wonderful sponsor. So support caneswear.com as well. Join us, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk, and you get access to our private Discord. And in just a moment, you're going to see, as members of Dolphins Talk Extra, have an opportunity to call in on the show tonight, this is something new that we're trying out tonight. So we'll see how it goes. But that's all coming your way. But we also have a very special guest with us tonight, and don't want to leave him waiting anymore, because he's waiting in the green room, and I want to give him an opportunity to come onto the air. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a warm Same Old Dolphin Show welcome to the one and only host of Dolphins Talk Weekly, Mr. Kevin Durn. Kevin, how are you on this fine Monday evening? I've got
also
you
muted.
Oh,
there we go.
That was not me, though. That was Josh. So,
It was Josh the first time,
yeah.
too.
No, I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. Thanks for having me on the show tonight, guys. Excited to somewhat talk some Dolphins football. So,
yes, we're going to do our best to to talk some Dolphins football today. But the reason that I wanted you in on this show, Kevin and Brain, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share your thoughts here in a moment too. But since we've got Kevin with us, I want to give him an opportunity to speak on this. Kevin, you have been a proponent just as much as Aaron and I about this Dolphins team needs to stop with the half measures. They need to go the full measure. They need to start clean. They need to start fresh. So I wanted to sort of hear from you a little bit, especially because you are really, really good at being able to like take that kind of 30,000 foot view of the team while also analyzing, the short-term foibles and fumbles of the team. So I wonder if you can sort of
$3 word right off the bat. I like it. So.
What can I say? I've had exactly one full glass of red wine already this evening, so I'm feeling a little extra spicy this evening. But I wonder if you can talk us through how you received the information, particularly given that you've got some connections closer to the team, and how you kind of felt as this news sort of began to roll out today.
Sure. Well, I'll back up a little bit. And I had the misfortune of going to the Dolphins opener in Indianapolis this year. and my lovely wife Leslie went with me.
God bless her.
To 5 or 6 games now, and they've lost every time. So I don't know if it's her or just the team, but we'll have to get to the bottom of that. But just from seeing it week 1, I knew it was going to be a long year. I was very worried when they didn't fire McDaniel along with Chris Greer after the Ravens game on Halloween or whatever, the day after, whatever it was, simply because not firing him would give Stephen Ross the chance to cling on to Mike McDaniel and put us in the situation we're in right now. I think we talked about it briefly off air, but I've got some connections to the team and had gone down there for the Bengals game. I went down to Miami and basically kind of got briefed that McDaniel was, Ross was basically looking for any reason to keep McDaniel. I would say the one note that I find interesting is that the one national media guy who's been ahead of everybody relating to the Dolphins, and this goes back to last year, he was the only person that mocked Kenneth Grant to them leading up to the draft, was Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated. And basically he still came out today before McDaniel's press conference and said that, basically Miami's job is still up in the air. So I guess take that with a massive grain of salt given what transpired today. But he specifically referenced in his article if Kevin Stefanski and John Harbaugh became available. One of those two is. So I also thought it was interesting. McDaniel referenced that he's going to speak to Ross later in the week. I once interned at a news station, and we always try to deliver bad news on Friday so people can forget about it over the weekend. So maybe that's the plan, but I tend to doubt it.
Yeah, drag the fans through the mud for 5 days first. Good call.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I guess I would say from the list of general manager candidates, I'm somewhat intrigued by 3 of them, and I'm intrigued a lot by the organizations that the candidates are coming from. And I think maybe one of the reasons is a little bit more, I guess, harder to see than the rest. So, but we can kind of dive into those guys if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can. It's probably worth talking a little bit about who those general manager candidates are, because I do think in a vacuum, a lot of those guys are those are exactly the kind of guys that you want to see the Dolphins talking to. That's exactly part of it. Before we dive into all of that, I got to go over to the Brain here and get his thoughts on all of this. Brain, you've been sitting there so patiently, so tranquil, so quiet. Let's give you an opportunity to let the people hear from you.
Well, first off, I want to say the list of candidates, not only are there 3 guys that McDaniel worked with in San Francisco, but you're also got a guy from Green Bay, Mike McDaniel, good relationship, worked with Matt LaFleur, similar system. The Rams, Sean McVay, similar system. McDaniel worked under Sean McVay. It's not a coincidence. They are putting together this group of guys. I don't know a whole lot about the guy from Philadelphia, and I'm going to lean on Kevin Durn for his opinion on that. Obviously,
please only refer to him from now on as Kevin Durn. We've got to use his entire name when talking about him.
Yes, I'm going to lean on Kevin Durn for the and we'll circle back to it when we're talking about these candidates. But it's very clear, even before, when this was the first little tidbit of news that came out, was that these are the guys that they're going after, and it was like, oh, okay, 3 guys from San Francisco where Mike McDaniel worked, and guy from LA and from Green Bay who run the same system. They're clearly bringing in guys that are going to want to put a team together that fits in Mike McDaniel's system. So they wouldn't be interviewing these guys unless you believe that they're going to, fire McDaniel and bring in another person to run, the exact same offense. And then Mike McDaniel comes out and has this press conference. And then we're illuminated to this idea that Mike McDaniel is going to be involved in the GM interview search or in the GM interview process, which is just beyond me, because now you're not only firing him, you're not only doing the worst thing that I sat here weeks ago and I said, the worst thing, it was months ago, is when they fired Chris Greer. I said, the worst thing the Dolphins could do is tailor their GM search to, it's got to be somebody that can work with Mike McDaniel. It's the same thing they did with when they fired Jeff Ireland, and they said the new GM has to be able to work with Joe Philbin. And they ended up, it's a sham of a GM GM search. You end up with Dennis Hickey, who's here for 1 year before he's fired. It's just, it's a mess. And but we're not just doing that. I thought that was the worst thing that they could do. But they found a way to make it worse. They said, oh, I got one better for you. We're not just going to tailor the search to Mike McDaniel. We're going to have Mike McDaniel involved in the interview process so that Mike McDaniel has say in who the GM is going to be. So Mike McDaniel is essentially hiring his own boss. Mike McDaniel is essentially the GM of this team at this point. That's what this is telling you. That's what all of the news that is being put together is, that it's going to be a collaborative process, but that ultimately the GM position is going to be centered around the head coach's vision of the team, which is the complete opposite of how every successful football franchise is run. And, I want to give credit to an extra subscriber who made a very fair point about the Dolphins' handling of Tua Tagovailoa and how that related to the Dolphins originally hiring Mike McDaniel. And he said the biggest, and this is Fish Pilot, Dolphins extra subscriber, said this.
Hanging in the chat with us today. We're going to hear from Fish Pilot in a little bit.
Said this on Sunday. He said the biggest mistake the Dolphins made was that when they realized that Tua was not the correct answer, was not the answer at quarterback, instead of admitting it and moving on, they hired a head coach specifically to cater to Tua, to make Tua as good as possible in spite of the limitations that they knew that Tua had. And now, and we all see how that's worked out. And now, instead of admitting that you have made the mistake at coach, the coach has his limitations, he's not fit to be the head coach, and instead of doing that, you're going to now cater the GM to try to build up the coach, to make the coach as good as possible in spite of the limitations that he's shown you that he's had. And they're just continuously making the same mistakes. And that's the thing that's driving me crazy about Stephen Ross. It's like, look, if you wanted to give him a mulligan for mistakes that he made in the past and say, well, he made those mistakes, but let's see what he does. Let's see if he learns from him. The mulligans are over. He's doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just stupidity. And look, I hate to tell you guys, but the fan base is kind of getting what they deserve right now. Because it wasn't the entire fan base, but there were a lot of people in the fan base that were very reluctant to hop on board with, we need this team to lose. And they were just accepting the crumbs that were given to them by Stephen Ross when he fired Chris Greer. And we sat here and we said, don't be placated. They haven't fired Mike McDaniel. This is only a piece of the puzzle. We have to keep the pressure on. But they didn't. And then the fans were okay. And in fact, we had this this huge section of the fan base that started to laud this team and say, look, they're making a playoff run. They've won 4 games in a row. Even if they would have won out, they still would have been eliminated with like 3 weeks left to go in the season, which is just insane that you even thought that they were in the playoff race when they could have won out and still been eliminated with multiple weeks left to play in the season. So they won a bunch of meaningless games, and somehow a huge section of the fan base got placated by this. And we knew that Mike McDaniel, just as Kevin Durn just said, Stephen Ross was looking for any reason to keep Mike McDaniel. We sat here and we said, this needs to get ugly. The fans need to make it ugly. The team needs to make it ugly. This team needs to lose games. They need to be embarrassed. It needs to be just an abomination of football. And the fans need to boycott. They need to not show up so that it becomes blatantly obvious that this is not going to be sustainable with Mike for no other reason than Stephen Ross saying, well, look, they're not even going to show up to games. This is embarrassing. It's not a good look for me. We all know that Stephen Ross cares a lot about what the media thinks of him. He cares a lot about his public perception, his legacy. It's why the Dolphins pay more for public relations than any team in the NFL, because Stephen Ross cares what people think about him and what people think about his football team. And so we had to make it ugly, but we didn't do it. We went rah, rah, rah when the Dolphins won 4 games in a row. And then when they inevitably shit the bed, like we knew that they were going to do in epic fashion, just as they always do when they play a good team on the road in cold weather. Then all of a sudden we're like, well, maybe Mike McDaniel should go, but it doesn't matter because it's too little too late. If this team would have sold at the trade deadline, if this team would have lost games, if they would have gone 3-14, or even if they ended up going 7-10, but the fans were just making it so embarrassing, I think Stephen Ross would have fired Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I suppose there's still time for that to happen. And I want to give Kevin a chance to respond to that, Brain. But first, we've got some super chats in, and we're going to respond. We're going to share some of these as we go through. Kevin, I'll give you an opportunity to respond, but I want to share a super chat that we got from Nightwolf 3186, a $10 super chat. He says, bro, you're exactly right. They also brought in Mike because he had to be a guy that got along and supported Tua. Now they're doing the same thing with the coach. This organization has confirmed how soft they really are, and a couple of face palm emojis. Kevin, there was a lot to unpack there from what Aaron said, but your response.
Yeah, so we talked about it. I'll take the 30,000 foot view here with where these general manager candidates are coming from. So regardless of Mike McDaniel still being here, the fact is going to be that the Dolphins are going to be in a seriously bad spot related to the salary cap, right? I think we all acknowledge that. If you do what you were going to do with Tua, you're probably going to be over $100 million in dead cap, right? San Francisco, you wouldn't expect it, had the second most dead cap in the league last year, around 92 million, I believe, second only behind the Saints. So you're going to have to figure out a way to draft and develop guys and get hits out of your undrafted free agent class. Similar offense, obviously, to what the Dolphins run. Defense is different. So I appreciate the avenue of searching there and knowing how to manage when you're stuck in that salary cap position. I would say with Green Bay, you're looking at a team who is pretty rigid in their processes. They know they're not going to attack free agency and get high dollar players coming in. They've built through the draft. They're pretty progressive when it comes to the draft. You know, look at the forward thinking they've had on quarterbacks with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. They've been brilliant at drafting offensive linemen, which I think Miami is going to end up needing 2 or 3 more this offseason, just based on some things that I've heard. And they really have only made big splashes when it's a market opportunity, like Micah Parsons. So having someone like a John Eric Sullivan coming from that organization who's pretty disciplined in their approach, a small market team, obviously Miami's not small market, but they're going to have to play like a small market team financially for at least a year. So I appreciate those. The Rams, kind of the same deal. They went through it in the post Super Bowl, when they had to cash out with all the veterans and go and take the cap hit. You look at the defense that Chris Shula has built. I believe there's only one first rounder in their starting 11 plus like the top 3 subs off the bench. Most of those guys are day 3 picks and free agents and undrafted free agents. So being able to acquire talent like that, and when you're probably going to have to do it in bulk, because when you look at the moves the Dolphins have to make on top of Tua, you're going to release Tyreek just to be cap compliant when the league year starts. You're probably moving on from guys like Minka, Chubb, Austin Jackson. I've heard some things about James Daniels maybe leaving of his own volition, so you may not have to do anything there. Interesting thoughts there with that, but you're going to have a very minimal roster that's under contract when you come to the league year. So regardless of what you do, you're going to have to do the quantity over quality thing this offseason, especially when it comes to like cheap free agents, undrafted free agents. So I like the teams that they've looked at in terms of how the rosters have been built. The one outlier to me is Alec Halaby coming from Philadelphia. That one seems to be the one that would be most like oil and water with McDaniel. McDaniel's a Yale guy. Halaby's a Harvard guy. How does that mix? Is that real? But, we'll see. But I think anyone who's been around Howie Roseman, who I think is pretty widely regarded as the best or one of the top 3 general managers in the league, I think deserves an interview and see how you build that program. I think they've been pretty forward thinking with how they've stocked the roster and what they do. They seem to hit on pretty much all of their trades and know when to cash out on players like a Milton Williams, great player for them a year ago, signed a massive deal with New England. Their defense really hasn't missed a beat. They win the division again, 3 seed in the NFC, I believe. So I like the teams that they've pulled in these candidates from. I guess in some ways I feel like you're almost setting McDaniel up to be the fall guy again next year when things go poorly. This feels a lot like Joe Philbin when he got the extension in 2014.
Yes.
Only to be fired after 4 games into the 2015 season.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Kevin. Let me ask you this, because this is the parallel that I keep thinking about here. It feels very much, and again, as you suggested, if you are one of those people that wants to be optimistic that Mike McDaniel is still not going to end up, is still going to end up getting dismissed at some point down the line here, like maybe Stephen Ross, as he is wont to do, sees a fish out there that he likes better. We all remember, the Harbaugh stories the first time around. We all remember the Tom Brady story. He's certainly not shy about going fishing when he's already got somebody in the house. But, and so maybe the fact that Stefanski is now on the market and John Harbaugh may end up being on the market might be something that, Ross's eyes get big and decide he wants to move on from McDaniel. But if in fact that is not the case and McDaniel is going to be the coach this year, does it feel like the right thing to do to spend a complete offseason continuing to build a team in the vision of a Mike McDaniel football team, knowing full well that if he continues to display the same very obvious shortcomings as a head coach in this upcoming season, that you're still going to have to move on from him anyway? And now you've spent an entire offseason continuing to build a team towards a head coach who's now no longer part of the organization?
I think the players that they have under contract right now on defense are pretty ubiquitous. I don't really think you're beholden to any one scheme. I wouldn't be surprised if McDaniel let Anthony Weaver go, if Anthony Weaver doesn't end up getting that Falcons job, which I think he's interviewing for at some point. I'm not necessarily worried about that. I'd be a little more concerned on the offensive side of the ball, depending on which quarterback you would bring in to compete with Quinn Ewers. But at the same time, they're so hamstrung by their cap situation. Are you really going to bring in a guy that's the long-term answer? Like even a Malik Willis, if it seems to be like the big fish on the free agency market. Even if you brought him in, I don't think you're like beholden to having him the next year if you have an entirely new front office or coach. I think regardless of whether McDaniel's here or not, like you look at the receiver room and what you're going to have in the post Tyreek world, you're going to have to rebuild it anyway. You have basically Waddle and Malik Washington under contract that are worth anything at this point. The offensive line, I think you're going to still have to make 2 or 3 additions there. I don't think there's any way you can go into another year with Jonas Savaianaya penciled in as a starter. Austin Jackson is a cap issue. James Daniels might be gone. Cole Strange is a free agent. Aaron Brewer's got a year left on his deal. So I think you can be pretty fungible regardless of whether McDaniel's here or not. I think to me, organizationally, you need to start building like processes in place that good organizations have where they're rigid in how they operate free agency, how they operate the draft, how they scout. I think kind of one of the most under the radar things, and maybe the one thing that Champ Kelly did that, should get him some praise, was that he got rid of Anthony Hunt and Adam Engroff, the 2 co-directors of personnel, right after they fired Chris Greer. Those guys had been in the building, I believe, for 20 years almost each. It's time for change, obviously, in how they scout. They haven't drafted well enough over time. So I'm at least encouraged with what you can do if you start revamping those systems and those processes. To me, this is more about the long term rather than 2026. And if they have to go with McDaniel as a fall guy, so be it. We get the result that we want just a year later. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I also would see maybe Stephen Ross having trepidation at doing like a 5-year contract like he did for Brian Flores when they knew they were going to do the teardown in 2019 and then give him the 4-year deal on top of it. Does he want to do that again while he's still paying Mike McDaniel's extension, for another couple of years on top of that? So, obviously Stephen Ross has a river of money coming through. It doesn't matter to him. It's pocket change, but in the sense of the organization, I would understand it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think those are all excellent points. And I want to thank you for coming on and chatting for us with a little bit tonight, Kevin, or excuse me, Kevin Durn. We appreciate you coming on for a little bit tonight. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can hear your thoughts, and when they might get the opportunity to hear another episode of Dolphins Talk Weekly.
Yeah, well, it's more like Dolphins Talk semi-annually at this point. The new job has been a pretty big challenge, but a very rewarding one. Hoping to have an episode recorded later this week. I saw someone commented in the chat asking about information on the new dog and a whiskey segment. So I'll have information on both of those things. Dolphins Talk Weekly, and then really the only social media I have is Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it now, Kevin MD4. I'll have Instagram too, but I never really do anything on there. So Kevin M. Durn on Instagram.
Excellent. Well, we'll look for. I personally am looking forward to the next whiskey segment on Dolphins Talk Weekly. I feel like I might be partially responsible for that becoming a thing to begin with. It
is a thing that you are responsible for solely. Yes.
Well, I'm very proud to have that legacy on your show. And I always look forward to that part. I mean, I look forward to every episode of your show in general, but the whiskey segment specifically. So, Kevin, thanks for coming on again.
There will be a new whiskey on the next segment, guaranteed. I haven't.
Oh, let's go. And I got some to talk. We got to do, maybe we'll do a whiskey show over in Dolphins Talk Extra. You can come and we can just do a whole whiskey show because the brain got me a bottle of whiskey for Christmas that knocked my socks off. So we can. I'm there. Excellent. So we'll catch up on that. Kevin, thanks for coming on. Take care. Have a good night. Thanks, give the dog a scratch for us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
Have
buddy.
a good one, Kevin Durn.
See you.
Thanks for Kevin for coming on. And so we've got another guest lined up who's going to be coming on with us in just a minute. But I want to first share a few more of the super chats that we've gotten in this evening. Thanks to everybody for supporting us with those. If you've got thoughts that you want shared on the air, hit us up with those super chats right now. I'm going to share a few more that we received this evening. We got one here from Fish Pilot. Fish Pilot says, F this shitty team. Anyone who gives this team money next year sucks. That includes you guys for the fan appreciation trip. Go to another ska festival. Hey, you're always, we always appreciate a good ska festival. So listen, I understand that sentiment very, very much. So I appreciate that. Matthew Stevens, 1954. He says, McDaniel aiding in search for GM is Miami Dolphins organization giving the middle finger to fans and sticking that finger in there. I could not agree more. Matthew, thank you for that $10 super chat there. We've got a few more here coming in that I want to share. Dylan Shirk, 3336. And I mean, Dylan was in with this super chat for $9.99. Like, I think we created the stream around 4:30. He was in at 5:30 with a comment. This has to be the dumbest bunch of morons to ever run an NFL organization. They couldn't get a rebuild right by accident. It's just another punch in the nuts to an already beleaguered fan base. Amen. Dylan, our good buddy Phil Montgomery, 95, a $4.99 super chat, sent us in a whole series of super chats. Phil, very much appreciate you. Damn it, boys, I won't be able to call in tonight, so I'll leave my 3 talking points here instead. Here we go, in order. Number 1, it's time for Jennifer Kim and Dan Stillman to take the keys away from Ross because Peepaw is a fucking menace behind the wheel. Amazing. Amazing. Next we get, it would be pretty dope, in quotes, if Tua went up to Canada to refresh his career. He could play on the same team as his brother, ensuring at least one player showed up for his stupid ass player only meetings. And finally, I hate this effing team, but I love Josh, Aaron, and the rest of my Dolphins Talk family. We deserve better, damn it. Thank you, Phil, for those fantastic super chats. We appreciate them very, very much. Let's see here. We've got Intense Farmer sent in for $10. The fact that Mike McDaniel is going to be involved in the GM hire goes to show this organization's front office is a joke. Agree with what the brain is laying down wholeheartedly. Thanks everybody for those super chats as they come in. If you send in more, we'll bring you on the air, or we'll read those out as they come in. But we've got another special guest that we need to welcome onto the show this evening. You know him, you love him. He is the face of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. He is Michael Leva. Mike, how are you doing on this Monday evening?
First time caller, long time listener. What's up, guys?
It's good. Thank you for finally taking the plunge and jumping in with us feet first to join us here on the Same Old Dolphin Show on this night of all nights, where we are just we're trying to collectively catch our breaths. And
it's a sad day. I think it's a sad day, honestly. And let me just go off on my rant here.
Okay, here we go. Okay, you want to go full screen, Mike?
Yeah,
I'll give it to you.
You know, let me just get this off my chest. You know, there's a saying that history does not always repeat itself, but it sure as hell does rhyme. But I think this is a case where history is just repeating itself with another half measure. I think after today, I really need to start a low-carb, low-sugar diet because I refuse to be dead by the time this team wins a championship. And I know that the Miami Dolphins haven't really confirmed anything or commented on anything yet. So I guess if, you know, John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin or someone else that they love is free, they could still fire Mike and make a play for them. But if that's your mindset, then you really don't love Mike McDaniel and you should have just fired him now. And think about this. They sent Mike McDaniel out there today alone at a press conference to stand at a podium alone to answer questions he really can't answer. He got no vote of confidence from this owner. If they fire Mike McDaniel tomorrow, in a week, in a month, it makes this organization and this owner look terrible. Like, why did you string this guy along and have him go out there today alone at a press conference only to fire him, days or weeks later? It just, like, who wants to work for these people? They're cruel. And the long and short of it, of why this is all happening, is truly this. That Brian Flores situation that happened a few years back rocked this organization to its core. To the point I don't think most fans really understand. You know, they were joking around, using the words tanking. You know, they were tampering. It was all a big joke. And then the owner got suspended by the league. And that was a big embarrassment to him. When he goes there and meets with the other owners, you know, rubbing elbows. Oh, he's suspended. He can't even show up for this meeting. And since then, in Miami, it's all been about perception and sunshine and rainbows, and we're a nice work environment, and we're never going to go through anything like that again. We're a great place to work. Everyone like me. And this is what you get. This is the end result. And the NFL Network report I saw tonight from Ian Rappaport, how they want to keep Mike McDaniel, but put better people around him to give him a chance to succeed. What better people? Shore's still here. Marino's still here. Ross is still here. Tom Garfinkel's still here. And he's going to sit there and have a voice in the GM process. It's BS. It's BS on a stick. And when Mike McDaniel said today he doesn't think a rebuild is needed, that is twisting the knife in the back of every fan. Because every fan knows a rebuild's needed. Outside of Achane, you have no building block pieces. Waddle's a number 2 wide receiver. That's not a building block piece. Patrick Paul's an average left tackle. That's not a building block piece. Chop Robinson sucked this year. Minka's about to be 30 or he is 30. Not building block pieces. This roster is void of any real young talent. And he doesn't see a need for a rebuild. That means they're going to go out there this offseason because of the cap and because, God forbid, you play young kids and try to play for the future. They're going to sign the next version of Ifedi Malafanu, Ashton Davis, and guys like that who are progress blockers to your young talent that need to be on the field. Let's bring back Cedric Wilson for the 50th goddamn time. Rasul Douglas played well this year. Shouldn't be on this team next year. Not a fit for where we are as an organization. I see fans want to restructure Chubb and bring him back. Why? Let's get some young edge rushers out there. Let's see what they got. You know, they're going to try and win 9 games next year, be a 7 seed, and say, look at us, we're in the playoffs. Yay. Lose by 40 in the first round. And it's the same nonsense all over again. Time heals all wounds, but guess what? If not, whiskey will disinfect it. Start drinking, Dolphins fans. We need a stiff drink. And, you know, I will say this in closing. Arthur Blank, he has my utmost respect. I know why Home Depot is a juggernaut of a company with that guy's leadership. I know he's not there anymore in charge, but what he built from that guy gets it. He fired everyone today. And I know why the Hudson Yard project in New York City is a bit of a clown show with Stephen Ross, because how you act in one business kind of carries over to how you act in all businesses. I'm Michael Leva. I said my piece.
What a rant. Absolute standing ovation.
Woo!
Standing ovation.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
We didn't even put the drop in. We didn't do the
you
Mike's
gotta bring
rant
some energy.
drop.
Let's go. Fans are pissed. They should be pissed.
But here's the thing. We want to talk about personnel. They want to talk about personnel and how he wasn't in the right position to win, right? That's the report from Ian Rappaport, that he wasn't put in the right position. How about this post that we saw over the weekend from Chris Kaufman, which is reminder that Mike McDaniel, since taking over the Dolphins, has the worst 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 conversion percentage in the NFL at 44%. The median is 61%. The next worst team is 51%. When you are the worst by far for an entire 4-year stretch, you cannot blame that on personnel. You can't blame personnel when everybody who comes into your system is dealing with procedural penalties and procedural issues and not knowing where to be.
They called timeout this year before 1 second ran off the clock. They literally called timeout in the first quarter before the first play was snapped with 1-5-0-0-15. He couldn't even get a play in before 1 second. I mean, the man stinks. He's terrible. Challenge record. Team losing at halftime record. There's not one metric he can hang his hat on unless you call moral victories a metric, which it's not.
Yeah, it's everything about it is a joke. So it's just, we're in this situation. And again, if you want to be one of the people that hopes, there is still a possibility. You know, if there are little things out there that maybe this organization is still going to get it right, because the organization has not made a single comment officially about Mike McDaniel's status. They've not made any kind of official statement. So that still means it could still be up in the air. Anything could still happen.
But it just means they mismanaged this a little bit, and it still comes off as a clown show.
Oh, 100%. It's a clown show organization. Everything about the operation is a joke right now. The fact that you would allow Mike McDaniel to go out there and say he's going to be involved in the GM search, it's a joke, especially the day after this team gets boat raced by the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, who, by the way, were in the same boat as the Dolphins were a few years ago. But what they did, and we've talked about it on this show before, They said, you know what? We've got the wrong head coach. We got to move off of him. You know what? We spent high draft capital on this quarterback, but he's not the right quarterback. We got to move off on him. We're going to draft somebody else. And guess what? Now they've got their new head coach who has led them to be the number 2 seed in the AFC, finished with 14 wins this season. It's so easy to do the right thing. And now you got the Dolphins, as you brought up the Atlanta Falcons, you can hold them up. There are a lot of parallels between between those two teams. Both teams have questions at quarterback. Both teams have an elite running back. Both teams have a number 1 receiver, but one of those teams has a present owner who is more than willing to step up and make the right move when it's time to make the right move. And the other team has an owner who is just completely clueless and doesn't have his head in the game when it comes to the football team. So that's why you look at this situation and you see a team like the Atlanta Falcons who is on their way to doing things right, and the Miami Dolphins are on their way to, mark my words, if Mike McDaniel is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins next season, you are looking at best a team sitting there at 9-7 and missing the playoffs.
Have you seen the schedule? We're going to be a 3-win team next year.
At best.
They're not beating teams like the Chargers or the Broncos. They're not beating any of those teams out west. Maybe the Raiders, they could win. Who knows? But they're not going to beat the teams in the north like the Lions, like the Vikings, like the Bears, like the Packers. They're not winning at San Fran. They're not going to win at the Colts. They're not going to win against Cincinnati at home, who just kicked our ass here a couple weeks ago. They're not going to beat the Patriots. They're not going to beat the Bills. They're not winning these games because they don't have a quarterback, number 1. And 2, this guy in the sideline proves he can't beat winning teams. We got the second hardest schedule in the league next year, which I know a lot can change, but guess what, folks? The Broncos are going to be good. The Packers are going to be good. The Bears are going to be good. We know these teams are going to be good. Same with the Patriots, same with the Bills. Like, these teams aren't going to fall off so drastically that they stink. Maybe you win 1 versus Jets next year. Maybe you beat the Raiders. We're 3, maybe a steal 1 versus the Colts if they don't have a quarterback. We're a 3 to 4 win team next year, which if you want a top pick in the draft, great. But then next year, this time, we're either going to keep Mike and they're going to sell this. Well, we knew this was the plan last year. Or then they're going to fire him, and his GM, who was brought here specifically for Mike, who probably wasn't the best one for the job, but he was here for Mike. It's another half measure. It's a cycle of hell we never get the F out of. And by the way, we got 5 picks in top 100. We're going to draft guys that fit Mike's system. And if he's gone in a year, maybe those guys don't fit the next head coach's system. It's just stupid. We're just stupid at the end of that. I saw one fan go, we can't keep firing coaches. We don't want to be like the Jets. Mother effer, we are the Jets. We are the Jets. I know we like to pick on the Jets. We're the same. Jets, Dolphins, bottom of the league. There's no difference.
We've been the Jets for 20 years.
We have.
Brain, any thoughts on any of that?
I feel great after this.
It's a comedy at this point because none of it was surprising. Like, the only thing that was like, I was a little surprised that, and it was so humorous to me. I laughed out loud when we found out that Mike McDaniel said it, or it was when I saw the Barry Jackson tweet that Mike McDaniel was going to be involved in the GM interview process. I laughed out loud because I did not think it was possible that they could do something even worse, even more dumb than what they did with Joe Philbin. I thought, yeah, they might do the same thing, and that's as dumb as it gets. But they topped it. I didn't know how.
We saw this at the trade deadline,
and they topped it. This team is amazing at, finding ways to lose games, finding ways to not do what's best in the long term, winning games that don't matter, losing games that are important, making all of the wrong decisions when it matters. This team is just it's comedy. You gotta laugh at this point. It's just,
let me say this one thing,
comedy.
and then I'll get off because I know we got some other people.
Hold on, Mike, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say this in just a minute, but we got a new tweet, breaking news from Barry Jackson. And here it is. He says, per source with direct knowledge, multiple Dolphins GM candidates have not been told whether Mike McDaniel is returning.
This is a joke. We're a joke. That's why you can't send him out there today alone. That's why I said you send him out there today alone. That's no vote of confidence. He goes, I'm the Dolphins head coach until someone tells me otherwise. What kind of freaking answer is that? It's $1 billion operation.
That's every head coach.
I mean, he couldn't answer. And then he starts talking about plans of next year. The one I loved is we're going to have an open competition at quarterback. Yeah, a little too late now, dumbass. Should have thought about that like a year or two ago. The guy's talking about like it's a big revelation. We're gonna have we're gonna have an open competition.
Hey, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the head coach of the Miami Dolphins until somebody tells me otherwise.
Exactly. This guy's just so stupid, and this how we run things. Literally, I don't even know what I was gonna say. It's just that this is why you go 25 years without winning a playoff game, and days like today, where I know some fans will just gloss over it. Oh, it's a big deal. Just one more year. Okay. 1 year is like 5 years almost because you're just kicking the can down the road, and you cannot continue to kick the can down the road like this and think the ramifications just 1 year. It's not just 1 year. Like I said, you're going to take 5 picks in the top 100, and 1 or 2 of those guys might not fit the next guy's system. Well, you're wasting picks. You can't waste picks like that, especially when you're way over the cap and you're going to do nothing in free agency.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you for coming on. Thank you
problem.
for giving
I'll
us
probably have
and
a
the
show
people-
tomorrow where more things I haven't thought of yet will upset me, and I'll vent there too.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking forward to that. Oh, we got another super chat just came in from Paul U 316P. He says Achan is not re-signing with I lost there. It is with Medicine Ball Mike drawing up plays. You have this guy in the war room and in the GM search. Give me O'Sullivan McCarthy.
Oh, here's the thing I was going to say. We saw this coming back at the trade deadline when he was sitting in on the trade deadline. We all said it then because I think I was on with Aaron. We all said it, but we were just hoping we were wrong that this wasn't like a sign of what was to come. It was a sign of what was to come.
Yep, it's
Why they
real.
needed to lose.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right,
Well,
guys, have a good one.
Mike, thank you for being here. Have a good night. Thanks for
You too.
thanks for coming on with us for a little bit. We appreciate it very
No
much. We got some other folks from Dolphins Talk Extra who we're going to be bringing on here in just a minute. But Brain, how are you feeling thus far?
It feels good to vent a little bit, but I'm happy getting my venting out. And frankly, we've had weeks of venting and preparing for this to get our opinions out here. I want to hear from the fans. We've got a couple of extra subscribers that are in the green room waiting to be heard. So I want to hear from the fans.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and bring them on. And a reminder to you, if you want to be part of Dolphins Talk Extra and have that opportunity to call in and join us on the show, you can do that at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can join the fun over there for as little as $3 a month. We're gonna have programming going on all off season long. The Brain and I are gonna drop to once a week, probably here on the free side, but we're gonna continue to pump out shows all off season long over there on Dolphins Talk Extra for our bonus segments. You get bonus shows with Mike. We're going to be talking college football. Brain, I'm kicking around the idea you're coming over to watch the Hurricanes game on Thursday night. I'm kicking around the idea of that being a watch along. Who knows? Maybe we'll do it for Dolphins Talk Extra. We'll see what happens. But join the fun over there, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And as the Brain mentioned, we do have some more some folks from Dolphins Talk Extra waiting to be heard, and we're going to bring on one of them right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the Intense Farmer, who, by the way, I believe won the Dolphins Talk Extra Fantasy Football League. Is that correct, Intense Farmer? Was that you?
I believe so. I was stuck by on the skin of my teeth in some games. But yeah, mostly Bijan Robinson just carrying the whole season.
It's a Christmas miracle to have a guy like Bijan Robinson on your team. Well, Intense Farmer, you're here with us. What's on your mind? Get it off your chest. Let the people know what are you feeling given everything we have learned about the Miami Dolphins on this Monday?
Like Brain said, I mean, once we saw that report earlier today about how McDaniel's going to be involved in the GM search, all you can do is laugh. It's almost like a tragic comedy. I don't know how they can see this guy losing, or how many games. I think it was 7 or 8 games this year, lost by double digits. I think it was a minus 103 point differential in the third quarter. He never has his teams ready, and he never adjusts. And to run it back is insanity. doing
Yeah.
the same thing and expecting different results, basically.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. I can't believe that this is where it seems like it's going. And as we pointed out before, the short yardage problems, they haven't gotten fixed. His calling plays during the game, the fact that his offense, his scripted offense is really good, but then it falls off a cliff as the game goes on. That hasn't changed. His inability to win games on the road against tough opposition never changes. His inability to win in the cold on the road doesn't change. It's the same thing year in and year out. And if you're going to blame the situation that was built around him, this is the situation that he was brought in to fix. You can't say, well, he didn't fix the situation, but he wasn't put in a position to win, and so we're going to give him another chance. He was supposed to fix the problem.
I got one thing to add on to that, is that what was our biggest critique of Chris Greer? Was that he deferred to the coach to build the roster.
Right.
So what are we doing? Like, oh, well, it wasn't Mike's fault. It was the GM's fault. So now we're going to let Mike handpick the GM so that he has more say in building the roster. We just fired the GM because the GM didn't have a clear vision and always relied on the coach to handpick the players.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
and the
team
first
was
two
built
drafts that he was actually
Well,
Go ahead.
Intense Farmer, thank you for coming on and chatting with us for a minute. We're gonna let you go because we've got somebody else that we got to get on. We've got another winner, in fact, from Dolphins Talk Extra on board. So Intense Farmer, have a good night. Thanks for coming on and chatting with us a little bit. And now I want to welcome to the stage the winner of the Dolphins Talk Extra Survivor Pool Redux. We had a redux for the Survivor Pool this year because I was the best in the Survivor Pool the first time around. And so we did a second one that I didn't participate in. And because I didn't participate in it, somebody else was able to win. And it happened to be our good friend Abel, who is joining us tonight. One of our great Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. Abel, how are you? What is on your mind regarding this Miami Dolphins team?
I'm good. Josh and Aaron, you guys can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just
Okay,
fine. Go ahead.
Just make sure. All right, yeah, I mean, just first off, thanks for having me on. Love you guys all Dolphins Discord. And we got a lot of good laughs this past weekend and stuff. And I mean, it's just funny. I sat in this same exact chair last year, same exact spot where it all goes back to the message of Stephen Ross, and you always bring it up, Josh. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. We're gonna change everything, but then he brings Greer and McDaniel back. Greer gets fired mid-season, and I'm one of the more positive people in the Discord. Even Mr. Patrick McMullen gave me a little nickname, Senior Cope, and
That's right, Senor Cope. That's you.
Senior Cope had to do it. Had to troll a little bit right there. But okay, anyway, you got to be happy with the wins, and I'm also a very real realist right now, where we've all been talking about the stat today. Since Hall of fucking Wayne, guys, this guy has not scored a point in the third quarter. I just did the math. That is 9 weeks. That is 9 weeks of you not scoring a point in a quarter. That equals to 2 games. That is pretty much like that. That is insane. It is insane. Next year, this team has 29 free agents, the second highest of all the teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I knew though, we all knew that this was going to happen. And I will say more of the, younger fans. I came in during the 90s with Marino conned me. Love Marino. We all
hey man,
love
that was still the end of the window where this team was competitive on a regular basis in the 90s. There were some stinker teams there in the 90s, but there were some good teams in there as well.
Right. But hindsight is always 2020. Hindsight is always 2020 when we all know the answers and everything. And I know the talk that everyone has had right now in this chat where everything points to that McDaniel is going to stay. But it hasn't come out official yet. And I mean, that's the only hope that I now hold on right now currently at this time, because I like the guy. We all like the guy. We know that guy as a coach is respectable. And I can even amount to it because we're all nerdy. We're all nerdy and we're all weird and geeky, and we know we can equate to that. But it's not working, bro. It's not working, man.
No,
This shit is
100%.
not. This shit is not working, and I mean, I'll leave it at that.
Well, you're absolutely
wanna
right.
say
Brain,
this.
go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say this. If the decision has not been made, now more than ever, like if they're waffling, like if they're on the fence right now and they're like, well, we might fire him, we might not, we're going to see what's out there. Now more so than ever, the fan base really needs to get loud and
Show
make it
up.
ugly. Like just let your voices be heard. Don't be like, well, we'll see what's going to happen. No, take to social media. I don't know if there's like he's not like a representative or whatever. So you don't have like his office phone number or whatever. But if somebody has, Stephen Ross's office phone number, has some way of getting like, hammer it with voicemails, fire Mike McDaniel, have logic behind it, have passion, like make this thing as ugly as possible. Take to the streets. I know there's more important things going on right now. You don't really need to take to the streets to complain about whether or not the Miami Dolphins should be firing Mike McDaniel or not. But the point is
I don't know what you're talking about, Brain. There is
we got to
nothing
make this
in the world more
this
important
ugly.
than what is going on with the Miami Dolphins right now. Nothing.
Yeah. We've got to just be consistent in our messaging.
right.
Anybody that tells you that, oh, it could work with Mike McDaniel as a head coach, no, just shut it down immediately. Just shut it down. Don't accept it. I know that we should listen to each other and we should find common ground, but if that's the starting point, no, stop it. Shut it down. It's done. Like
That's it.
And Juna made a really good point here about the Dolphins having 29 free agents. Kevin Durn came on and made a good point about the Dolphins being in a really rough cap situation. This is the perfect situation to blow the whole thing up.
Yes.
It's the perfect situation. You're not close. You're going to be a worse team next year. At best, you're going to be on par with what you were this year. You're in a bad you're in the perfect situation to reset the books and just eat a bunch of dead cap, take a reset year. It's the perfect situation for it. There's no reason to keep him, because if you keep him and then the team goes 7-10 next year or likely worse, then what? You're going to fire him, and then you're going to have the GM that was brought in specifically to cater to Mike McDaniel, and you pigeonholed yourself into these GMs with your GM search instead of having a real GM search. Just fire him. Just fire. You know what? I kind of like, I have no opinion on any of these guys. Personally.
None?
I've done none of the research on any of these GM candidates. But there's one guy that stands out as being different from all of the others, and that's the guy from Philadelphia. Hire.
I like it.
The one guy that doesn't have ties to Mike McDaniel or a Mike McDaniel crony. Hire.
Very well. Well, as you mentioned, we're in the status quo. We're dealing with the status quo. We're feeling the status quo. And this is just so good that I have to share it. I'm generally not an AI guy, but I got this. We got this tweeted at us, and so I have to share it. You're going to get the status quo, and you're going to like it. So there it is. So take that and enjoy it with the devil, Stephen Ross. So that's not really the Stephen Ross that I'm used to seeing. This is more the Stephen Ross that I'm used to seeing. Just disappointed Stephen Ross, who seems to be surprised that this is what is happening to his beloved Miami Dolphins. Abel, thank you for coming on and spending some time with us this evening. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. We hope that you have a wonderful evening. And so, Brain, we're just about done with the show, but we've been dealing with the Mike McDaniel era of this team for a very long time. And so what we need to do to close out the show is we need to do one last pulse check. We need to do one last pulse check before we go. So let's hear from Mike McDaniel himself.
Because we're another day closer to death.
There it is. So we want to know from you, what is one word to describe how you feel about the Miami Dolphins right now? Let us know in the comments. One word to describe how you feel about the Miami Dolphins right now. As you send those in, I want to share a few more of our super chats that we got in this evening. And thank you again to everybody who's been sending them in, whether they're big super chats or little super chats. We appreciate you sharing them with us. So here we go. From Mr. McDolphin, Stefanski or Harbaugh would never come to this shit show. We're stuck with this BS for another year. John VA13 says, I'm just here to pay for Mike's rant, which we appreciate that as well. John, thank you for being here. I like the person, I didn't see whose name it was, but they said, this is cheaper than therapy, which is true. This is cheaper than therapy. So thank you to everybody who is empathizing and sympathizing and going through the motions with us here today to feel better. Johnny M says the only logic would be securing a top 3 pick in 2027. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one argument for bringing McDaniel back, is that maybe you'll have a top 3 pick. I think the thing that we're going to see with McDaniel, though, is that he's just a little bit too good to like fully tank, to really get to allow things to bottom out. From Get Over Here 95.
It's not him being too good. It's he's going to make the moves, the job-saving moves of bringing back Bradley Chubb and bringing back Minkah Fitzpatrick and, you know, extending all of these guys so that they can go out and bring in, you know, other little veterans on these little stopgap deals to try to make the 2026 team as good as possible so that they can win 7 or 8 games.
We've got another one in here, another super chat. This is from Get Over Here 95. He says, sad truth, at least the Jets made it to back-to-back AFC championship games in the last 25 years. Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. We're worse than the Jets. Even the Marlins won a World Series this century. Pathetic. Thank you, Get Over Here 95. You're right. In fact, since the Dolphins last won a playoff game, every other professional sports team in South Florida has won multiple championships. Every single one of them. No, the Marlins have only won one since then, but still, the Marlins have won multiple championships since the last time the Dolphins won a championship.
That's true.
They were found. Every other sports team in South Florida was founded and has won multiple championships since the last time the Dolphins won a championship, which is crazy also to think about. Here's from Paul U316P. Oh, we read this one already from Paul. We got that one already, Paul. Thank you again for that super chat. Let's get to our one for our pulse check here. Oh, wait. We got another from Intense Farmer for $10. The 2 drafts McDork was involved in, they take Chop over Quinyon Mitchell, Grant over Warren, and Savaianaya over Tate Ratledge. He can't stay. I agree. Martini Jack says, this is why I drink. Here we go into our pulse check. Brain, I'm going to give you mine. And I had it on the tip of my tongue and I've lost it, but what is the word that I'm looking for? Where you're between two worlds. I'm not quite in hell. I'm in purgatory with this team. I'm in purgatory. My pulse check is purgatory. Let's see what some of the people says. We got a bunch on Dolphins Talk Extra, so I'll share those with you now from everybody over there at Dolphins Talk Extra. Here we go. John says pathetic. Dolphins Talk, hopelessness, Misha Rohn, Barfarama, Fish Pilot, Detached, Timbo, Dejected, Al Craig, Joke, Patrick Mullen, Kafka S. Abel is tired, Wida, Despair, Intense Farmer, Jaded, Alex Pena, Deflated, 618 Dolphins, Anguish, Intense Farmer, Enraged, Mr. McDolphin is frustrated, and Martini Jack, one word, LSD. Brain, well, while the people continue to send in theirs, what is your pulse check?
I feel vindicated.
Vindicated?
Yeah, I feel vindicated because a lot of people thought that it was really harsh where I was at multiple points in this season where I said the Dolphins needed to lose as many games as possible and that it needed to get embarrassing and that it needed to get ugly, particularly after the Dolphins fired Chris Grier. People were kind of on board with like, yeah, they need to fire Grier and McDaniel. But when they fired Chris Grier, there were a lot of people that were like, okay, calm down. Like they fired Grier. McDaniel's going to be here the rest of the season. There's no way that they're keeping him. So they don't need to lose games. Just calm down. But it was very clear that Stephen Ross wants to keep this guy and that things needed to get as ugly as possible. And so people thought it was stupid that I was rooting for this team to lose. They thought it was stupid that I was telling people to boycott. And then let me tell you what the height of stupidity is. It's being one of those people that thinks it's not okay to tank all season. And I shouldn't say tank, but it's not okay to root for your team to lose all season. But then the last game of the season, look at the draft order and say, well, if we lose this game, we could be the top 8. We could have a top 10 pick. But if we win, we're gonna have possibly the 13th pick or whatever. So now I'm rooting for them to lose. All we did was win a bunch of meaningless games. That's all we did was win a bunch of meaningless games. And it wasn't about the draft pick. It was about removing the veil of respectability, removing the veil of this is close. This is not so bad. Mike McDaniel's pretty good. They just need a few tweaks. They don't need to blow the whole thing up. And now we're in this mess where it certainly looks like they want to keep Mike McDaniel around. And if it's true at all that Mike McDaniel is going to have say in the GM, then this franchise is even dumber than I thought they were. And so I feel vindicated for having that take. And I'm going to continue to have the takes like that until this owner gets it through. Frankly, and I don't think the owner is going to get it through his head. But what needs to happen is this team, it needs to get uglier and uglier and uglier, because that's the only thing that makes this owner take action, is when it looks bad for him. If people are showing up to the games, if people are happy when the Dolphins win a meaningless game against the Saints in November, in spite of having no playoff hopes, then, as long as people are happy on Sundays, to tailgate and do all that stuff and have a good time, they're happy with the product. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're happy with the product. If they're spending money on the product, the owner is happy.
Yep.
Stop spending money on the product.
Stop spending the money. That's right. We're going to give you here. Let's hit up some more of these pulse checks here. Dan B 5580 is disgusted. John VA 13 is embarrassed. David West says encouraged. John Kelly, sick. ML Dolphins, clueless. Larry Thompson, I'm just kind of reading through them here. Larry Thompson, fucked. I got game. AJ is sick. Michael W. Mills, despise. Sign Blue is angry. DHT 0776, disheartened. Darth Logan XV, jaded. Eric Lee, fucked. William Hubbard, worst. Muscle Morphin 5423 is sad. Matt W. Stevens, 1954 is nauseous. Francis Prunty is disappointed. Miami Kid J 5309 is appalled. Kalen 1229 is ecstatic. I don't know what you're ecstatic about. Tyrone Chapman is ashamed to be a Dolphin fan. Randy Rogers 4672 is betrayed. Kyle Rossi is smited. Abel the Baller says for the Survivor League and a Martini Jack, just giving us an extra $1.99 super chat, which we appreciate there. William Huber frustrated. We've got another one here. Johnny M 12B. I think it's Smokey's back. I'm predicting the Browns and Finns swap head coaches. Inside source. Hey, Johnny M, if that's the truth, I'm loving that. Please let that be true. David de Graffenried is dumbfounded. Ash Ed 65, give us a $5 super chat here. We're going to show it. I'm fed up with Ross. I am hoping the owners of the Dodgers buy the Dolphins one day soon. Wouldn't that be something right there? That would be fantastic. I think that's it. I think we've hit up everybody here on the show for tonight. So thank you to everybody that has sent in a super chat. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and commenting. We appreciate all of you being involved. We're going to part with some words right here. There is still a possibility that the Dolphins may move off of Mike McDaniel this offseason. It's not a done deal. Like we said, I'm not trying to sell anybody hope or anything like that, because it's very possible that Mike McDaniel could still be moved off of. But I mean, at this point, it's seeming more and more likely the passing day that he is in fact going to be here. This is what I'm going to say to you. If you are a discerning Dolphin fan and the Dolphins don't move off of Mike McDaniel, they hire a new GM, Mike McDaniel remains the coach, and we start going through this offseason program, there is going to come a time. It might be close to the draft. It might be the middle of the summer. It might be training camp. It might be the preseason. There is going to come a time where people are going to start spinning hope and trying to fill you with rays of sunshine and positivity about this team. Resist. You must resist. You must keep the pressure on. Don't buy into any of that hype. You might like the GM candidate. You might like the players that get drafted. You might like the free agents who get signed. But you have to understand that this situation is not going to get better until we get the clean start. So until that happens, continue to make your voices heard. Continue to withhold spending your money. Return your season tickets. Don't spend money on this team. Continue to make your voices heard and tell them that you demand to see change. You demand action, because the same old Dolphins isn't going to cut it for you anymore. It's the only that, listen, we got a show here called the Same Old Dolphins Show. We're not happy that they continue to be the same old Dolphins year after year. We demand that this team finally gets it together and shows us that they're not the same old Dolphins. Well, the path they're on right now is a one-way ticket towards being the same old Dolphins all throughout the 2026 season. So no matter what anybody else tells you, don't lose sight of the fact that this team is a runaway train going in the wrong direction. So thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. Thank you for visiting Caneswear.com for all of the best and most affordable gear for all of the South Florida college and pro sports teams. Thank you for subscribing to Dolphins Talk Extra at patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you to Carlos Hernandez at the I Am a Miami Dolphin Fan Facebook page. Thank you to Aaron the Brain. Thank you to all of you, Mike, Kevin Durn, Abel, Intense Farmer, everybody who's sent in a super chat this evening. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you. We will be back with another show soon. We're going to have you covered here all off season long at the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. So stay tuned. We're never going to lie to you. We're always going to be honest. We're always going to give you the unvarnished truth. We're the spot. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. As always, take care of yourselves and each other. And yes, even when they're still the same old Dolphins, it's always go Dolphins!
Football is a tough game, and it's even tougher